First of all, we want to invite for public participation here, Shasta Barton, and then Steve Phelps, you're on deck. Shasta.
Thank you. And thank you to all of the board members and Superintendent Dixon for reading my emails, for responding to my emails, and for this time for me to speak to you today. I have been a lost soul trying to find my boy in this hurricane screaming around us. And while the storm is COVID, I now believe that our hurricane is fear, and I am afraid. And in my fear, I have regrettably unleashed my mouth in triumph at the cost of silencing others. As a community, we have assigned meaning without understanding, accusing our neighbors, unfriending our families, and betraying our friends. Fear has become the root of all hate. I can only imagine the amount of fear that has been aimed at all of you, disguised as rage in the midst of all of this mess, are people who want to live, who want to be safe, who want to be happy, and want to flourish. And in all of our differences, we all want the same thing: safety, freedom, life, and the right to pursuit of happiness. I have appreciated the intent of having a minimum requirement for district plans that allowed for communities with fewer cases and percentage rates to have fewer restrictions. Unfortunately, communities with high cases and high percentage rates have also chosen to follow the standard of the bare minimum. Most teachers and students want to be at school. If we could create a little more understanding in the fear of teachers and some of our students, I think you will find that there are solutions to open school safely. Social distancing while wearing a mask has proven to be the safest option inside of the risk that we will all have to take. But most of our districts have not even attempted to allow for social distancing. And deploringly, most districts have not allowed for high-risk employees to work from home, even when it's possible. Please find a way to demand safety in our school. Please find the energy to put all of that hate, anger, and rage that has been aimed at you aside and see the fear underneath of it. Fear of losing our freedoms, fear of losing our lives. The world is wide enough for all of us. We can and should find creative, flexible solutions to protect the vulnerable and enable the voiceless. Please demand more of our leaders who have chosen to forsake the most vulnerable in the name of convenience. Thank you so much for your time and for listening.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Steve Phelps and then Susie Blackham with USDB Education Association will follow. So, Steve Phelps.
Thank you, guys. As districts' plans have taken shape, neighboring districts are able to create very different plans. Salt Lake is going online. Granite is going back 5 days a week. Provo District is opening for the hybrid model, while Alpine's also going back 5 days a week. How is it that these districts are coming to very different decisions in the level of risk and the needed mitigation steps to open schools safely? Practices led by data and experts have similar outcomes given similar data. Wide variance in results may signal issues within the decision-making process. Districts in Utah County are unable to access in-depth data related to COVID-19. The county health department does not have a data specialist to create this data in the second most populous county in the state. We know decisions based in data and research result in better outcomes. We need clear metrics to guide safe decisions statewide. Opening schools safely is not the responsibility of just districts or schools, but it is the responsibility of the community. The community must do its part in containing the spread of too many Utahns are failing to participate in community safety measures. These actions have deteriorated the trust school staff have in regards to open schools safely. And giving clear targets will empower and motivate Utah citizens to create the environment in which schools can open safely and help to rebuild the necessary trust between schools and the community. There are several other issues with district reopening plans and equity. Many districts have abandoned rigorous coursework for the online students. Alpine's online option is their alternative high school for at-risk students of dropping out. and it's devoid of diverse elective offerings, resulting in less students being college or career ready, as conveyed by the portrait of a graduate. Also, districts are ignoring students with disabilities in plans. Distance learning options for these students are less than ideal and require different supports to achieve success. Districts need to offer comprehensive plans on how they will meet needs of this population, especially in distance learning. Plans should address how districts will safely provide related services and educational supports in a variety of models to limit potential exposure. These models would include in-home access, small group access, outside of school, and then in-school access as well. I call on the board to create metrics to guide school opening based on expert advice and help rebuild the trust of educators with the communities. I also call on USB to create policies ensuring equitable distance learning options will meet the diverse needs of our students. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Susie Blackham with USDB Education Association, and then Erin Burns, you're on deck. Susie.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning.
My comment is for the USDB Governing Board. So, board members, I respectfully ask that you please put on your local school board hats. I am addressing you as the president of USDB Education Association, so I will put on my UEA scarf. I know many of you see me in many ways, so I just want to be sure of my UEA scarf. As you are our school board, we are wishing to foster productive relationships between you and our educators. We are excited at the prospect of being able to use technology to connect. We are, watch for an email from us with some ideas on how to connect with you. While we want these relationships to form in a positive environment, I would be remiss if I didn't inform you of concerns expressed by our educators. Firstly, morale is low from being denied the legislative promise of holding education at no harm. Ours are the only educators in the state looking at contracts with the exact same number as last year's. Trust me when I tell you this has been devastating. Second, as countless other educators have been expressing, we too are fearful for public safety if schools fully reopen to in-person instruction. Our concerns are magnified by the fact that we are the only all special education LEA in the state, and we feel that our safety protocols need to reflect that. I close my comment today with a sincere thank you for the work that you do for the students of Utah, and a sincere thank you for examining and adding to the USDB reopening. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Erin Burns with Amy Barton on deck. Erin.
Hi, I am here to talk to you today, and I just want to say my name is Erin Burns. I'm a teacher at Beehive Elementary and Granite Schools, and I'm here today speaking as an individual. I just want to say thank you so much for all of your time and hard work and everything you're doing right now. I know it is a really hard time to be in leadership, and just the little leadership roles that I play. I've seen so much tough decision making, and I know you guys are doing your best, and I'm so grateful for everything you're doing. I just wanted to let you know, I went to my school registration on Tuesday, and I was expecting to run into families that were so excited to be there and so happy that we were coming back to school. And what I ran into was really shocking to me. I ran into a lot of parents and a lot of kids that were extremely anxious about coming back to school. I had conversations with kids who were worried about getting their teacher sick. I had conversations with parents who were asking us why our plan in Granite is not as safe as Salt Lake's or Davis's or some of the other surrounding school districts. We have a lot of parents in my area that cannot keep their kids home, and that online option is really not an option for them. So they're very, very worried about sending their kids into unsafe situations. Our district has, of course, had the 7 essential characteristics that you guys have sent out. And I know when you sent out that plan, it was made in a way that you could give flexibility to the districts. And I love the idea of giving local control, but I feel like our district is treating our plan like we're a rural school district with no cases right now. In Granite, we have no social distancing in our district plans, 0 at all. And they're saying, we know we can't do that. So, do your best. Clear your furniture out of your room. When I cleared the extra bookcase I have, and if I clear my desk, I'll have approximately 5 extra feet of room. So that's not even enough for one desk. We are so worried because we're having so many problems trying to get desks into classrooms. The other day on Tuesday, we had time to set up our room, and there was a teacher who was crying because she was trying to set up her room and she couldn't even space them 6 inches apart. I want you to know we love our jobs and we want to be in schools, which is why we're petitioning to have you guys please intervene and get my district to do an AB schedule or some sort of modified schedule. It's on their plans, but they're refusing to use it. And we want to stay in class. We know that if we can reduce the class size to half and do every other day, we'll meet the needs of those kids that need to be seen with counseling. We'll see them if they are getting abused, we can still pick that up. If we have food issues, we can get them their food and their clothes, everything they need, and we'll be the caring adults in their lives. But we will also be able to keep our schools open safer. We're looking at this and we're thinking if we can social distance our classrooms, we can stay open longer and serve kids better. You are our last hope. We've exhausted our options. We have gone for 2 months to board meetings. We have tried to make comments. They will not let us comment. We have written to them. We have gone to our principals to petition for us. We have had our union petition for us. And none of them are listening to us except for one board member who's backing his decisions with science. I know you guys can intervene, and we are desperate to make sure that we are safe. We do not want to put kids through the trauma of having classmates and teachers get sick or having them bring it to their families so that they have family members dying as well. This is a life and death situation, and our district is just refusing to look at that. We also have no plans. Anyway, thank you for your time. I appreciate you listening to me and reading my emails and for all the work you're doing. Thank you, USBE.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Amy Barton with Trevor Belnap on deck. Amy. Do we show Amy
Oh,
in the queue?
yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Sorry, my video is not functioning, however, my apologies. Good morning, board members. Thank you for the opportunity to address you today. My name is Amy Barton, and I've spent the last 16 of my 23-year career teaching here in Washington County. Starting next week, my district will be back full-time, face-to-face for instruction. As of yesterday, August 5th, the COVID-19 positive test rate for the 5 counties of southern Utah stands at 8.5%. In the last 7 days, there were 182 new cases in Washington County. Last year, I had 27 first graders in my classroom. 27 kids from 27 families coming to school on 7 brought colds, flu, hand, foot, and mouth disease, croup, pink eye, lice, and RSV into my classroom. How do we mitigate the risk in our schools? How do we address the 7 situational characteristics of movement, duration, proximity, group size, respiratory output, touch, and congestion? I have yet to see any plan that truly addresses our crowded Utah classroom conditions. We cannot avoid the challenges posed by movement, proximity, group size, and congestion in our classrooms. Respiratory output is everywhere. Most of our districts seem unable or unwilling to truly address duration by meaningfully modifying their schedules. Mine hasn't. We need USB to require districts to do something substantive to address those 7 key factors. The data I just shared with you should be driving decisions, just as I use data to drive my instruction in the classroom. I teach using standards, and we need standards for when it is safe to be in school buildings. I really fear that if there isn't a requirement for lower positive test rates and many fewer new cases, those data points will go in the wrong direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Trevor Belnap with Margaret ONeill on deck. Trevor.
Thank you, board members. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak today. I teach in a Title I school. I'm speaking as an individual. As anybody who knows anything about Title I schools or has taught in a Title I school, it's less than easy. Fortunately, at my school, I am in a community of incredibly dynamic and passionate individuals who I consider my family. We came together, colleagues and community members came together this past weekend to create a visual image of the impossibility of social distancing in a classroom, what it actually looks like. I will send the video and the link to the board members at the conclusion of this meeting. And through the process of coming together to create the image, as well as just talking to people, it made me realize kind of two things. One thing that I already realized is that any teacher in a school understands that it's impossible to social distance in a school with the numbers that we have. And that is the source of a lot of despair and I think hopelessness and the fear that people have spoken to before. And so as a teacher, I think by nature we are creative and we are problem solvers. And that's where I wanted to focus my energy. And I realized that if you permit me the analogy of the family, as we have a community of educators and community members, if we're a family, a healthy functional family is looking toward growth, and we're not looking to be reactive and to move away from fear. It's more of an opportunity to move toward growth. And we have ideas. There are hybrid models that have been proposed that people are okay, feel safer with. The idea that we can extend the school year into the summer, the idea that schools are open from 7 to 3, just because that's how we've always done it. This is our chance. This is an opportunity that we have. Instead of looking at it as an opportunity to pick the lesser of two evils, let's choose something that can really move forward as educators and as a community, and the role that our schools play and the way that our schools function. Thank you. And I'll like I said, I'll share the video with you guys. I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Margaret ONeill with Lexi Cunningham on deck. Margaret.
Hi. So the Utah State Board of Education's job, according to the website, is to exercise general control and supervision over public schools. I'm a teacher in a Utah middle school classroom, and I'm here to ask you guys to please do this job. Right now, Utah's many schools and districts need you to supervise their reopening plans and make sure they're in line with the CDC guidelines. We need you to take action to keep our students, our teachers, and our families safe. The CDC guidelines state that schools should support healthy hygiene behaviors by providing adequate supplies, including soap, hand sanitizer, paper towels, tissues, disinfectant wipes, face coverings, and no-touch trash cans. Most schools are not providing these supplies. As the board, please fund these supplies and ensure that all schools have them available before we reopen the schools. The guidelines state that schools should space desks 6 feet apart whenever feasible. Why are we willing to compromise on this widely accepted 6-foot rule in our Utah schools? Don't we care about our students? My classroom doesn't have desks, it has tables. I can only have 6 students properly distanced. Please provide funds to purchase furniture or find alternate spaces so we can stick to this 6-foot best practice before we reopen our schools. Another CDC guideline is to ensure that ventilation systems operate properly. My classroom hasn't had functioning air circulation in 4.5 years, and I know other teachers are in the same boat. You need to fix the building ventilation systems before we reopen our schools. Another part of the CDC guidelines for school reopening is the protections for staff and children with higher risk. It states that schools should offer options for staff that limit their exposure. Over 90% of teachers in my building are considered high risk. My school and many other schools in Utah are not providing those options, like another speaker said. We need to give schools time and resources to offer other job responsibilities before we reopen our schools. The CDC says schools should actively encourage employees and students who are sick or have recently had close contact with a person with COVID-19 to stay home. That's a direct quote. This doesn't work with our Utah modified quarantine policy that says that exposed teachers and students can still go to school as long as they're symptom-free. You as the board need to exercise your general control, require schools to minimize infection by enforcing an actual quarantine. In the same vein, the CDC says schools should create a roster of trained backup staff. My school doesn't have enough substitute teachers in the best of times. Who's going to sub in my classroom during a highly contagious pandemic? You, as the supervisory board, you need to establish quarantine protocols and solutions for when teachers are out before we can reopen the schools. There are many other points I could make, but I emphasize these 5. We need sanitizing supplies, updated ventilation systems, proper space and furniture, for social distancing, solutions to protect high-risk teachers, and conservative quarantine protocols. We are not ready to reopen yet. Please don't reopen our schools until we can do it safely. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Lexi Cunningham with Utah Schools Superintendent Association, and Royce Van Tassel, you're on deck. So, Lexi.
Chair Huntsman, Vice Chair Cummings, members of the board, Superintendent Dixon, and leadership, thank you for the opportunity to address you this morning. I'm Lexi Cunningham with USSA. I look forward to working with you this year. I want to first thank you for the work that you've done this summer, the long hours, the extra meetings, answering emails, calls, engaging in the conversation around the state. You've cared and listened, and you've been willing to engage in the conversation. I also appreciate the guidance you, Superintendent Dixon, and the USBE team have provided to schools and districts with the reopening planning handbook and template. Since these documents were released and training provided, districts and schools around the state have been engaged in the work of developing their return to school plans. They have worked with the 7 mitigation factors. I've been so impressed with how each district has approached this process and how willing districts have been to share their work with others and invite stakeholders to be a part of the process. I also have been impressed with the outreach districts have done to gather input from teachers, staff, parents, and students. Utah school districts came together to develop local plans to reopen their local schools. Each plan is unique and meets the needs of the community. Daggett's plan is different from Kane's. Uinta's is different from Iron County's plan. Cache County and Washington County have different plans. Each is unique to meet the needs of the local community, yet each plan addresses the requirements and recommendations put forth in the guiding documents. We know that our work is not done. I've heard that here today. We've been asked to be nimble with our plans to reopen, and you see districts across the state taking this seriously. Boards continue to hold meetings to review data and make adjustments. I suspect that this will be our new norm for many months. Superintendents continue to work with their teams on preparing for reopening. We are committed to reopening safely, but understand that this looks differently in every district. We are weeks away from welcoming students in some of our districts across the state. I respectfully request that no changes be made to the school reopening planning handbook and template. Our local boards and superintendents and districts are working to reopen safely. They will continue to monitor and make adjustments when necessary to meet the needs of our schools and our communities. Any changes made today to the reopening planning handbook and template could impact the reopening of many schools and many districts across the state. We know our work is not done. We will continue to communicate, connect, show compassion and care for our students, our teachers, and our families. This is a very difficult time, and I thank you for leading. I thank you for the tools that you have provided to schools and districts. I thank you for supporting our local boards and districts, for reviewing our plans, and I thank you for trusting us to do what is best for schools in Utah. Thank you again for this time.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Royce Van Tassel with Utah Association of Public Charter Schools with Kathleen Reiby on deck. Royce?
Good morning. It is good to be with friends, even if this is only being with each other virtually. I come to you speaking both with my hat as the chair of a small charter school in Santaquin, as well as the head of UAPCS, representing all charter schools statewide. One of the things that I have been impressed with is how radically different the communities throughout the state are. In some states, some areas we have very well-to-do communities. In others, the families have much more modest means. in Santaquin at C.S. Lewis Academy, we have found that the lowest income families in our community were the ones who most wanted their kids back in school, because most often they needed both parents working, and having them at home was more difficult. All of which is to say that all of the time and effort that you have put into the guidance documents that our local charter schools and school boards have put into what their reopening plans are contingent on the local circumstances. I fully understand the fear that is out there. Every school, every administrator, every board feels that. They are real. The challenges of opening with as many students as we have are very, very real. And we have to do the best that we can, which is often little more than muddling through. Perfection simply doesn't exist. But having spent as much time as we have and recognizing the differences that exist from community to community, I would urge you to trust the local members of our boards, of our schools, our administrators, to work with the constituencies in solving the problems at that local level. The change that you make you might make here looks very different in Alpine than it may in Santaquin or someplace else. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Kathleen Reiby with Meg Tunnel on deck. Kathleen.
Thank you and good morning.
Morning.
My name is Kathleen Reiby and I'm speaking as a mom and a teacher. Thank you for your service during this challenging time. I am ready as a mom to send my kids back to school. My fellow teachers are ready. We have rose to the challenge in the past, and I would like to invite my community to join with me and my own kids in a goal: 50% capacity unless below 5% positive rate. This benchmark is data-driven. This goal provides both flexibility and local control. We talk about miles of plexiglass, gallons of sanitizer, janitors and nurses, and hundreds of subs. These things might not be available, but safely we can all come together to meet a goal of 50% capacity until the positive rate is below 5%. Our communities need continuity and consistency. This goal will allow us to stay open. I want my kids in school. I want to go to work safely. This goal allows all districts to meet the needs of all students in an equitable way. Districts, principals, and superintendents have been fractured by the lack of one common goal. 50% capacity until 5% positive rate will allow us to be flexible, nimble, and respond to the needs of our community. Thank you for your service and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our concluding participant will be Meg Tunnel, and hopefully I've got your name right. So Meg.
Nobody gets it right, but that's okay. Well, I am.
It is. Help me out.
It's Tunnel.
Tunnel?
Yes, but that's all right. Don't worry about it. I'm here as a parent and a community council member. I live in Granite District and I have 6 children. I have kids that are on an IEP and 504s, and I have children that are in the gifted and talented program. I have kids that are athletes and kids that are theater nerds. And I have a son who is a minority. Because of the varied experiences my children face, I am passionate about the success of education in my community. For the last several years, I have served on my elementary school's community council. And over the last month, I have been in contact with teachers, students, and parents daily, as I'm sure you have. I'm probably getting a fraction of the feedback you're getting, and it's a lot to take in. Today, I'm asking that you set a standard across the state for reopening that will still allow local flexibility. And because we need consistency. Right now, the CDC, the World Health Organization, and the Harvard Global Health Institute all advocate not reopening communities until the community spread is 5% or less for 2 consecutive weeks. And right now, Salt Lake County all the districts in Salt Lake County are above that, and Utah is at nearly 10%, nearly double the recommended rates. Using Salt Lake County, where I live, as an example, we are currently in the top 40 in the country for test positivity rates. That puts us with Los Angeles, Houston, Phoenix, and Miami. Because of the inconsistency among the districts, my community is in chaos. All 5 districts in my county have very different plans. What Salt Lake City Schools is doing to try and reduce the spread by keeping their schools closed is being directly counteracted by what my district is doing by opening immediately. And regardless of what you hear from the administrators and the boards, I'm here to tell you that it's not meeting the needs of our students. It has created mass open enrollment chaos between the districts. Elementary schools that are next to each other on borders are experiencing a flutter of open enrollment requests back and forth across the districts as parents fight each other to find a solution that meets their needs. I know that you're facing a lot of pressure, both politically and that things are different than when you wrote the guidelines, but I also know keeping children safe is the most important to you. Please issue a guideline. A 5% transmission rate would allow schools in districts and communities with low rates of the virus to reopen while helping communities work on a common goal in reducing the spread for counties with high transmission rates. Thank you.
Thank you. This concludes our public participation portion of our board meeting.